Hello, welcome to Garibaldi Road for the second time this week because it's all happening transfer-wise in January, and obviously Forest have got a big game coming up on Saturday, the biggest game of the season against Derby. We thought we'd do a second podcast for the week, just a shorter one, sort of 20 or 30 minutes or so, looking ahead to the game in the company, first of all, of Reds legend Garry Birtles. Hello, Garry, you well?
Yeah, good morning. Very good, thank you.
Good. And a man who's covered up his loud shirt with a Notts cricket hoodie in Reds fan Michael Temple. Not that people can see that who are listening on iTunes, but Temps, are you well?
Morning, Matt. Good, thanks. Just after that impromptu wardrobe change.
Well, I did spring this on you both at very short notice, so I'm grateful for you both joining me. I suppose one reason it's short notice is we weren't going to do it until Brentford bid for Brennan Johnson again. I think, to my knowledge, it's the second bid of the month, this time from 10 million to 15 million, which is a big leap. Forest have rejected it, and according to the Athletic, tip of the hat to them, Forest want 18 million. What do you think about it, Garry? I mean, that's a lot of money, but this promotion is sort of a carrot at the end of the season. How do you see it?
It is a lot of money. It's very tempting. Balancing the books is always something you have to look at outside the Premier League. But I just don't think it's the right time for him to go at the moment. We're in a position where we can challenge very, very well indeed. We've seen in recent weeks with the signings how well they've done since they've come in. And you don't want any disruption at this moment in time. And I just hope his dad's telling him exactly the same. They'll still want him. Believe me, they'll still want him. They're not going to say, right, we don't want him. There might be a few more suitors if Forest don't get into the Premier League or the playoffs, and that's an absolute certainty. Then yes, get the money for him, which is always sad. I can remember, under Paul Hart when Michael Dawson went, Andy Reid went, Jermaine Genius went because Forest weren't getting promotion. That's what happens with your little diamonds if you don't get success. So just let him stay here till the end of the season, see what happens. Nobody can lose by it. He's not going to get a worse player in the back end of the season. He'll only improve under Steve Cooper without a doubt, because you've seen everybody improve under Steve Cooper. And, I just hope that common sense is brought to the table and we can see him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I was thinking about it last night, Temps. I mean, what's his market value in the summer? I don't think it's massively different to now. Maybe you take a £3 million hit, and if it's a £3 million gamble on Forest making the playoffs with Brennan Johnson potentially going up, I don't know, it feels like a good gamble to take to me. What do you think about it?
I don't think it's a gamble in the sense there might be more suitors in the summer. I think January tends to be the time when you plug the holes. I don't want to be disrespectful to Brentford because they're 14th in the Premier League, but I don't think it's where Brennan Johnson sees himself ultimately fulfilling his ambition. His old man was quite vocal, wasn't he, not so long ago, saying he wasn't for sale in this window. So really proud of Forest for turning down what is real money. Let's not scoff at a £15 million bid for an academy product. It's incredible after one season in the Championship. But I do feel that money will still be there in the summer. And that turning down this bid is testament to the immediate ambition for the rest of this season.
I suppose what they need to do, Garry, easier said than done. They need him to sign a new contract, don't they? He's only got 18 months left on it. If they could protect his value and give him more money, that's a great solution for Forest, isn't it?
Yeah, but the problem is that 18 months, and if Forest don't go up, you can't sign him on a contract maybe and say, well, if we don't go up, we'll give you this. But it's a difficult one. I would just like to see him stay until, there's no hope of, us getting in the playoffs or getting in the Premier League. But there's still a big chance of that at the moment. We're 5 points adrift of the playoffs, but nerves come into the equation. The more the season rolls on, teams in the positions up there at the moment will think, the finishing line's nearly here. And I was at Notts County all those years ago when we were in the top two, and we were favourites to get automatic promotion. And even then, nerves came into the equation. We went into the playoffs and got knocked out by Walsall. So things can happen, and we had a very experienced side at that particular point. So these things can happen. And why just take him out of a situation where he's thriving? He's loving every minute of being out on that football pitch. He's getting kicked from pillar to post, but that's testament to the opposition thinking what a big danger he is. and he's playing under a manager who has brought the whole club to life. And you have to take that into consideration as well, not just your own situation. He's just galvanized everything connected with the club. You know, I'm not just saying this. It's blatantly obvious. We had 1 point. We're 5 points off the playoffs. You know, and you meet him, and he did the positivity of him and his backroom staff is just overwhelmingly good. And, you know, we use this word embrace. We've said it, you know, many, many times. He does that. He wants to know about the whole football club. He wants to know the history. He loves the noise of the crowd. He loves the songs, you know, the City Ground, you know, Miss rolling in from the... He loves the whole concept of Nottingham Forest. And he wants to be the person who makes them successful again. And I think the players feed off that massively. I mean, going to Millwall, winning in the, was it 91st minute, clean sheet, that speaks volumes for me. That we wouldn't have won that game, I don't think, 5 months ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, whatever you want to say. We went there and we won that football match. And the brave, you know, how brave he was with the selection, I thought was incredibly good, you know, with Graben playing just behind. You know, I thought, how good is that? How positive. And that must have taken the opposition by surprise. And that's what I'm saying about Brennan. You know, everybody's bought into what Steve wants to do. And everybody's enjoying exactly what they're doing when they get out on that football pitch. And you can't ask for any more than that as a player, to be asked to go out and express yourself and put your good points to the fore. Don't worry about what I'm not good at. We've said this before about Brian Clough. He wasn't bothered what you're not good at. Just go out and do what you're good at. And for a player to have that going out onto a football pitch is immense. And you can see that Steve's given every player that sense of, right, go on. I can express myself. Yeah, I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it wrong. But I can express myself. I'm not afraid to. And I think that's brilliant to watch.
Just to build on Gary's point, that goal against Millwall encapsulated Brennan Johnson's role in that. He's run with the ball from the halfway line, attracted 4 defenders. Every touch was masterful. And then he's threaded it into Zinkernagel's path for that tip over the keeper. And that was the game-breaking moment. Forest peppered Millwall second half, but it took Brennan Johnson's pace, skill, control to create the match-winning chance. And I think without him in that position with that ball, no one else in that lineup could have done that. He's very quickly become our game breaker. And yeah, there's so much more to come between now and the end of the season. And I hope, as all Forest fans do, that he's, you know, doing it in our colours.
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, if he does go, or if he does stay, it doesn't make any difference. Forest are trying hard to sign Jed Wallace, but I think that's going to drag on. And they like the Blackpool winger as well, Josh Bowler, who would cost a bit less and be more for the future, maybe. Another player who has definitely, or one player who has definitely gone, is Carl Jenkinson, who's gone on loan to Melbourne in Australia. It's the rest of the season, so I don't think he'll play for Forest again. He only played 15 games. Does that feel like a good solution, Gary? I mean, at Melbourne are owned by the same people in Man City, so I guess they're paying at least a decent chunk of his wages.
Well, I hope he's vaccinated anyway when he gets over there. It's what football's all about. If you're not involved, I think you ought to go somewhere else. A lot of people just sit on the backsides and they're on good wages, big wages, and you know they don't want to move, they don't want to go anywhere. I've always got a lot of respect and a lot of time for players who do that. Not everybody's going to be everybody's cup of tea. You know, a new manager comes in, he's got different ideas. If you're not part of his plans, don't mope about it, don't sulk. Just go somewhere else and try and prove a point. You know, you might just lift yourself and your career might just go back on an upward curve a little bit. But if you mope because you're not in the side, you know, people notice that and people don't want you as part of that, you know, the club. So I think it's good that he's gone. It's a bit of a long way to go to prove a point, but, you know, he's done it. Fair play to him. It didn't work for him. It doesn't work for everybody. You know, when you come to a football club and the number of managers who we've had, in the past, you know, it can be difficult because every different manager who comes in has different ideas, different ways of playing, different ways of training, and it doesn't suit everybody. So, you know, I'm not surprised to see he's gone.
Is it a case of good business after bad for Temps, in the sense that he's a bad signing, but they've done well to get him off the way, or percentage of his wage at least off the wage bill.
Yeah, of course it is, because you said in your report, Matt, he's been there since August 19. He's played 15 games, which includes 8 league starts. So by no yardstick is that a decent signing. He's had an odd career, hasn't he? I think he's got an England cap, Carl Jenkinson, but he's played 30 games for Arsenal, disappeared on loan to West Ham and Birmingham before we've signed him, and he's trained with the under-23s for half of that time. So like Garry says, sometimes your face doesn't fit, or there's simply somebody better than you in that position. Personally, when I've seen him play, I don't think he's embarrassed himself at all. I think he's quite a tidy, controlled footballer. But yeah, the A-League is where English players go for semi-retirement, isn't it? So he'll have a lovely time in Melbourne, but I don't think anyone at Forest will cry too many tears for him. As you say, he will have commanded decent wages, and we've seen nothing like a suitable return over the last 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, he's no Jed Spence, certainly. Another player who looks like he's probably going to go, I think it'll happen this time, is Carvalho to Olympiacos. I mean, we discussed him at length on Monday's podcast, like properly at length. But I'd be interested to get your take, Garry. I mean, does it feel like the right time now for him to move on?
If we've stretched this point to its maximum, I think, with Carvalho, haven't we? We've tried to be positive. Answer. We've tried to get him in the team. We've tried to say, will he be better under a new manager? But bless him, he's not worked for him in the Championship. It's a brutal league, for a player who's maybe not used to it. He wants time on the ball. He wants to, be the playmaker. People don't allow you that comfort in the Championship. You close down quickly. You quickly picked out if you're a danger and you're a threat. As Brennan's finding out at the moment, but he just keeps getting on, bouncing back, and he just makes them pay again and again, and that's great credit to his mental strength, Brennan. But Carvalho's, he's had chances under various managers. He never had a real run in the team. It's always been a bit part player, and it's never easy to be a bit part player. You need games, you need game time, and your fitness levels aren't what they should be when you come in and you're given a chance. And people make decisions about that. They're entitled to make decisions like that, but as an ex-player, that you need game time, and he's never had that really on a consistent basis. So if he goes back there, you never know, it might take off for him again. But I'm not surprised, without a doubt. It's he doesn't look like he's going to get in the team. He's not even a bit part player really at the moment. So yeah, sad, but because he has got ability.
Do you have anything to add, Temps? Like Garry said, we've done Carvalho to death, but I'll give you an open floor to say anything you want on Carvalho within reason.
I'll keep it brief because I've said all this before as well. He's a luxury player. At the moment, he wouldn't even be your third substitute. And I can just picture a scene in training where he does 7 Cruyff turns, then Ryan Yates comes in and hammers him from the side. And I know which player I'd pick. So, no ill will or no bad feeling towards Carvalho. I think his highlights reel is incredible, but he's 24 now, and you can't really put him in that wonder kid bracket by any definition. I think we were all extremely excited when he first arrived. There seemed to be some substance because he had a few magic moments on a pitch, but they've become too few and far between. So time to cut the losses, get him off the wage bill, and back the gaffer in the transfer market.
Let's turn our attention to Derby at the weekend then. Well, it feels to me, Garry, like a much more interesting game than we've had the last couple of times with fans, with Forest going well, with Derby in total and utter crisis. Does that make them a more dangerous opponent? And how are you feeling about the game?
Can I just say one thing before I go any further? And just say, I keep waxing lyrical about Steve Cooper, what a magnificent job he's done at Forest, which he has. But you have to say what an unbelievable job Wayne Rooney's doing there as well. Under the most difficult circumstances, we're Forest fans, but you have to admire his staying power. He's got enough money in the bank to say, right, I'm off. I've had enough of all this rubbish. And now you're getting councillors involved. I was listening to on the local news this morning. There's been a meeting. It looks more positive, which I'm genuinely pleased about, because you don't want to see that happened to Derby County. We want to, if we get in the Premier League, they're going to be in the Championship or worse. But if we're still in the Championship, we want them in the Championship. And I think the points they would have had now would have been 35 points had they not been deducted. Was it 21? They'd have been 2 points off us. So that just shows you, I mean, he's not bottom of the table. Barnsley are bottom of the table now. So, yeah, I mean, they can't stop winning. But what's the problem is, and the continuing problem, they're losing players. They're losing key players at the moment within January. And the more key players they lose, it's going to be more difficult for Wayne to, keep things on an even keel. We've got to be massive favourites, you would have thought, going in. But they've got nothing to lose. They'll expect to be underdogs. They'll expect everybody to think they're going to be beaten. The crowd is going to be incredible on Saturday. You can't get a ticket for love nor money. And the atmosphere, as I say, it's always brilliant at the City Ground, but this will be special on Saturday. And whether it lifts them or not, I don't know. It'll lift us without a doubt. And, I'm really looking forward to being there and sampling the atmosphere and, hopefully beating them.
Temps, if you were doing a combined Forest and Derby 11, how many Derby players would get in it? I can only think of one, maybe. And does that matter at all? Or is that totally
That's a bit
irrelevant?
harsh.
I'd say Lawrence. Who else would get in for it? Who else would get in a combined team? Curtis Davies, maybe? I'm not sure who over.
Well, this is my combined team, so no one. It'd be an all Forest 11. I do like Lawrence. Knows where the net is, doesn't he? Just a very tidy, all-round footballer. The interesting point for me this week has been, some bleating from some Championship clubs about Derby owing £25 million to the tax man, but turning down offers for players, and the pressure under which Wayne Rooney has delivered 35 points to the football club is quite incredible. I do expect that to fall away now. They've lost Jagielka, who'd started, perhaps 20 games. All of a sudden, he's ripped out the heart of their defence and off to Stoke. He can't wheel and deal. He can't even sign free transfers. So I do think some wind will come out of their sails. But their form's great, Last 5 games they've won 4 and drawn 1, and as Garry says on the merit table, they're 2 points behind Forest. So it's not going to be a walkover. But yeah, let's hope that Forest can get on top at the weekend. But there's no way I'm going to name a Derby player in a combined.
Well, you mentioned Curtis Davies. I mean, what a great pro he is, by the way. And Derby will need people like him in the coming months to the end of the season to keep things going, to keep the younger players focused, because it's going to be a long, hard road for them. There is a little bit of glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel for them, but we can dim that light a little bit on Saturday by beating them and ending that run. But yeah, don't underestimate them.
Do you think they could avoid relegation, Garry? Do you think they could avoid relegation?
It depends on the remaining days in January. What happens? Like I said, I was watching local news this morning, and the lady, the councillor, was saying it was a positive meeting. She feels more positive than she has done about the future for Derby than before. So that's got to be positive. I know a lot of Forest fans will say, yeah, well, I hope it all goes wrong, but then you lose that rivalry, and you don't want to lose that rivalry. It's been a good rivalry. It's been, you go back to when Robbie Savage was playing at Derby, and players like that. It was fantastic. You used to love those occasions because they always used to kick off. With Robbie in the side, you were guaranteed it was going to happen because he was a wind-up merchant, and that's what you want in a Derby, a little bit like that. When Craig Burley was there as well, and you've had some great characters in those local derbies, but they're a youngish side. They say youngsters play with no fear, and that can happen. But I'm just so impressed with the way we're going about things at the moment. And I'm going down to watch training tomorrow. I've got the invite to go and watch training, so really looking forward to that, to see how everything's done on a daily basis. And I just feel so positive about what's going on down there at the moment. We try and get out for a drink on a Thursday lunchtime. Myself, Robbo, Frank, Colin Barrett, Johnny Owen, and the the gaffer and the two lads, came, Alan Tate and Stephen Reed came down for into West Bridgeford for a little bit of a libation with us. So it was just, that sort of atmosphere. It's great to, have that affinity with the football club. And it's just a happy place at the moment. And we haven't said that for quite a while. And it's good to see it. And we've got games coming up now that we can win, that can put us in a decent position, because teams above us are going to be playing each other. There are teams are going to take points off each other. There are teams, like I said before, who are going to get nervous because they're in the positions they're in at the moment. And you look around at the moment, we've already mentioned Wayne Rooney, Steve Cooper, but you look, Nigel Clough at Mansfield, that he's got them into the playoffs from where they were in the league earlier in the season. You look at Notts County, how well they're doing. The four teams around us at the moment are, doing particularly well. Derby, obviously, with the point deduction, doesn't look like it. But like we said, had it not been for that, the East Midlands needs a lift in football. It needs to be part of a higher standard of football. And, we've got Leicester there, and that'll be interesting in a couple of weeks' time, the FA Cup game. So, it's a lot of positivity around the East Midlands at the moment.
Forest going to be in the Premier League next season, so they won't play in Derby anyway. Right. One other point I was going to ask, Temps. I'd be a lot more nervous about the game if it was at Pride Park, just because of the atmosphere, that kind of siege mentality, the EFL are out to burn us at the stake kind of attitude that Derby fans have adopted. Does it make a big difference it's at the City Ground with that kind of reverse cauldron where it's going to be Forest fans creating a big atmosphere?
I hope we attack from the off, and as a home side typically would. But we've won the last two games 1-0 by being very tight first half, feeling our way into the game, and then a moment of quality in the latter stages. So I think the way that we climb the table further is to be positive. Whilst remaining tight at the back, but I think the changes to personnel and having Cook as an option ahead of Figueiredo gives us a certain sense of solidity and a base there to allow the flair players to get on the ball and express themselves. So, to your point, Matt, I hope so. I hope we can attack with it with a bit more intent from the off. Having said that, the results of the last two games have proved that Cooper has got it tactically right by being a little bit more defensive-minded first half before striking when the time is right. So, given the results he's had against Arsenal and Millwall, I just wonder whether he'll ask the players to kind of earn the right to play, keep it tight, and as the games open up, hope that a moment of quality from Brennan or Lewis or whoever can be the difference.
That's that way we play about first half being very studious and very tight has only backfired on us once in the past few weeks, and that was at Middlesbrough. And they played particularly well that day. You've got to give Middlesbrough credit. But if that's the only worry with that, if we do that a team can just get on top of us in the first half. Not many have managed to do that. Only Middlesbrough probably. We should have beat Huddersfield. We know that. But that's the only concern, because second half, we just take the game by the scruff of the neck, and it's been a very, very successful tactic. And even if teams see that and try and stop it, it's very difficult because, like you said, Temps, the back three now with Cook in there just looks so solid, so secure, and it gives everybody else so much confidence. Because if you do lose the ball, you think, right, they've got to get past those three now at the back. The wing backs can get back and tuck in a little bit, and the point you made, Matt, as well about if it had been at Pride Park. Hold on a minute. We went to Millwall last week, which is one of the most hostile places you can possibly go, and we came away with a 1-0 win. A clean sheet, which is fantastic. You ask anybody about clean sheets, and the gaffer was always Brian Clough. He laid the foundations on clean sheets and defensively being very, very good. So I don't care where we play at the moment and who we play. The only team at the moment, you look at Fulham, dear me, 6 again last night, 7 the other week. That is incredibly good. They're the only team you would think, well, you don't fancy that. Bournemouth have been beaten. Fulham are the teams. West Brom have not been, as good as we thought they were going to be. So Fulham aside, you feel Forest can mix it with anybody.
What's the most hostile place you played?
Me?
Yeah, not Thames.
I can tell you some stories from Sunday mornings.
Probably Anfield.
Anfield, was it?
Yeah, Anfield was, very hostile. But the old baseball ground obviously was, because you were that close to the fans, but that lifted you. That was, you used to love going there because, if you had the mental strength to get through that and play and win at the baseball ground, it was, a special sort of victory. And Barcelona, that was a bit hostile as well. That stadium, when it had 110,000 people in there, that was really rocking. But that lifted you as a player. You couldn't wait to play at places like that. You thrived on it, and you just wanted to be part of that. And you just hope players are like that now.
Well, I can safely say I've never played at the Nou Camp or Anfield or anywhere like that. So you got the edge on us there. Right. We'll leave it there. Thanks very much to everyone who watched along. Very much appreciated. And we'll be back on Monday with David Prutton and Greg Mitchell to review the Derby game. Garry, thank you very much. We might have lost Gary's signal. Temps, thank you very much.
Thanks. I'll see you for this drinking club in Bridgeford on Thursday, Garry. Where are we meeting on Thursday for this pint with all these Forest legends?
Pleasure. I was just going to say one more thing.
Go on.
You've lost me, have you? Oh, sorry.
We've lost Gary's signal, a calamitous end, but we'll end it there and we'll be back on Monday. Thanks very much, everyone, and enjoy the game. We'll see you soon.